Resplendent Brave Ike. Really? Okay, I guess we're doing this now. Yo guys, what's poppin'? It's your boy Tacho here. And as you can see on your screen, we have what is arguably the best Resplendent hero that we're ever gonna get. I cannot believe they're already jumping into Brave Ike. Like, you think about all the Resplendent heroes we've had so far, and they're all pretty much like day one units or very early released units that aren't super relevant anymore in the meta. But here comes Resplendent Brave Ike, and it's like this guy is still to this day one of the top units in the game. So you give him +2 to all stats, and then what happens? He ends up being even better. So this is really awesome. The only thing that I can imagine they're doing this for is the anniversary, because he's going to coincide his release with the actual anniversary in February. So maybe they wanted to give us a Resplendent hero that's really going to live up to the anniversary hype. And if you want my opinion, it certainly does. Brave Ike, here he is in the Nidavellir attire as well, the current story arc attire that we're going through right now. Just think about the fairy attire and how long it took us to get that before we had even completed Book 4. So them starting to give us this new attire already, I think is very awesome. It's going to look nice on a lot of other heroes besides Ike, of course. So really good stuff. Definitely let me know in the comments section down below how hype you are for Resplendent Brave Ike. Very strong stuff here. Okay, but of course today we got our copy of Resplendent Tiki, so we're going to be talking about her. I just had to talk about Brave Ike first because it's freaking Brave Ike. But here's Tiki. So it's like Big Head Tiki, as I said before. I'm not opposed to this artwork. I think it's pretty cool, and she does look cute. But I really like the original artwork for this Tiki because it was one of the few day one arts that I actually thought was good. And it really fits Tiki's personality, where she looks real happy and real adorable. Whereas this one, I think the Emblem attire and her big head just make her look a little bit like less happy compared to the original. That's just my opinion though. I'm sure a lot of people are going to like this art. It is a very nice art overall. Okay, but as far as builds are concerned, if we take a look at Tiki's base kit, she has Flame Tongue or Breath of Fog, which she ended up getting later on, Growing Flame, Armored Blow 3, and Breath of Life 3. Not really a very good base kit, to be honest, but she is a day one release unit, so we can excuse her for that. Now, what's really good about this Tiki, actually, is that even though she is a day one release, she did have the trainee BST bonus at that time. So you combine that with the 15 flowers and the Resplendent +2 to all stats, and Tiki can be pretty solid statistically, which is nice. She's also a Red Breath Dragon, which is good because it gives her color advantage against Thrasir, the worst enemy of all the Dragon-type units. So that's another plus for her. And I think this Tiki is going to be a pretty solid option, assuming you have a lot of merges on her. The only downside is that she's still 5-star exclusive, so it may not be the easiest thing in the world to get a lot of merges on her. And as far as IVs are concerned, I would say you probably want to go plus res or plus attack. She doesn't have any super boons, unfortunately. But if you're going to play her as a super tank option for Aether Raids, then plus res is probably going to be the best way to go. It's going to help round out her defenses a little bit better. But plus attack is also very nice, and it combos well with Breath of Fog. So if you want to just lay the smack down and hit the foes as hard as possible, I think plus attack Ivy's still has some advantages. Alright, so on to the budget build now. We are in fact going to run Breath of Fog with the Refine. So what this one does is it's going to grant her effective damage on dragon types. It's going to give her Renewal 3. And it also grants her attack and defense up 5, assuming she is within 2 spaces of a sword or dragon type ally. So not bad. It's like a drive version of attack and defense bond, which is pretty solid. And it's going to make her strong against melee type foes. But if you wanted, you could definitely just swap this out and go for Lightning Breath Plus and go for a refine on that. So that way she's going to have distant counter without having to actually inherit Distant Counter. Pretty nice budget way to get that skill. But either or, it's just going to be up to preference, so I would say choose whichever one you like most. We have Aether as the special on this build, and the reason why is because Dragon-type units are so shafted when it comes to specials. They can't have Gale Force, they can't have Ruptured Sky. So if you want to do a damage-based special that also heals pretty well, Aether is probably going to be your best bet. But if you want to go for a lower cooldown count special, then Soul and Noontime are also definitely options to consider. We've got Fury 3 in the A slot because it grants all stats up 3. Normally we wouldn't run Fury 3 on a build like this, where we also have Quick Repost, but she's getting so much sustain already from the Renewal 3 effect on her weapon, and also the Mystic Boost Seal, which I decided to slap on this build. So we can get away with Fury 3 this time. And then we have Attack Smoke 3 for the C slot. It's just a really good option for these bait-type units. And there's not really anything in the C slot that we can use to raise Tiki's own stats, outside of high investment skills like the Joint Drives. So for a budget build, Attack Smoke is fine. But if you want to tweak the build a little bit to make it more to your liking, there's definitely other things you could do, like possibly Renewal 3 in the B slot or the Sacred Seal, just so you can stack Renewal and turn her into a massive sustain tank. So just pick whichever one you like the best. And last but not least, we have the high investment build for Tiki. This time, of course, we're able to run Distant Counter in the A slot, so I would recommend going for that over Lightning Breath plus a different A skill. It's going to work out better in the long run, I think, because her weapon is honestly not that bad. Despite being one of the earlier refined weapons, it still holds up quite well. And it has so much more might than Lightning Breath that it's definitely going to come in handy, especially when comboed with Dragon's Ire, which allows her to double attack regardless of if the foes have an impact type of effect. So when you're able to do stuff like that, you want to make sure you're piling on the damage as much as possible so you can just get rid of the foes in 2 shots. We've got Pulse Smoke in the C and then Mystic Boost for the seal once again. Mystic Boost is just a really great seal, and it provides some extra sustain for Tiki. One of the weaknesses of Dragon-type units, because Aether is a high-cost special and it takes them a while to build into it. Unless, of course, you happen to have New Year Valoria and you want to support her with Tiki. And for other options, you could try Null Sea Disrupt, I guess, but honestly, I feel like Null Sea Disrupt has been completely phased out at this point. Mystic Boost is just way better. Also, it leaves a unit on the board that you can bully around, so you can actually go for the pot breaks a lot easier. You can also try Lull Attack and Speed on Tiki, and I think this is probably the best option for a Lull skill on these Dragon types. You could try like Lull Speed and Res or Lull Attack and Res, etc. But because Dragon type units deal adaptive damage, when you're fighting the ranged opponents, you're never going to be 100% sure if you're going to be targeting Res or targeting defense. Whereas Lull Attack and Speed, you always know you're going to need to lower the foe's attack and their speed. So I think that's the best option for Dragons. And of course, Joint Drive Attack, another good option if you want her to really clap hard and deal some extra damage. So Tiki's not too shabby, and she can definitely hold her own as a super tank unit for Aether raids. And just before we close out the video, I want to show off one final build. This one was requested by the homie 380am, so shoutouts to 380 for this build. This one is trying to maximize Tiki's speed a little bit more. So we have Blackfire Breath with the Speed Refine and Lull Speed and Res, as well as the Speed and Res solo Sacred Seal. So this is going to be a very fast English muffin here. Tiki's going to be moving at Mach speeds and also tanking pretty well. You're also able to lull the foe's attack, speed, and res on this build, so not too shabby. Like I said before, I kind of prefer lull attack and speed over lull speed and res. But of course, you're always going to target res if you're fighting a melee opponent. So it's not like having lull res is a bad thing. But overall, a pretty good build if you want to maximize her speed. You do still have to watch out for impact effects though. So units like Tibarn or Budding Bow units and Elliewood and stuff that are all running around with impact effects, I think Dragon's Ire is just a little bit better to go for. So that's just my preference, but it's always nice to take a look at other people's ideas. And that's going to wrap us up for the builds today for Resplendent Tiki, as well as the discussion about Brave Ike's Resplendent. That one caught me off guard. I really was not expecting him to get a Resplendent alt, especially not this soon. It just really sets the precedent for who's actually going to be next. Like, it really makes you think. Because if they have no problems giving us a top-tier meta choice like him, who knows what else is on the horizon? Like, for all we know, Brave Hector could be the next Resplendent alt. So let me know in the comments section who you think is going to be the next Resplendent hero after Brave Ike. But I am thinking it's probably going to be another big one, since they are going to release during the anniversary. So I would say get prepared for some hype. And that's all for today. So this is your boy Tacho signing out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I will catch y'all again on the flip side.